Hey, what's up? It's Matt, and this is the podcast. Let's get started. I don't know why, I can't make a really good introduction. I suck at doing introductions, literally. I suck at doing introductions in person, and I suck at doing introductions digitally and on media. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not much of an introduction person. If someone was making the introduction between me and someone else, I'd be good. But if I'm the person making the introduction, it's gonna be so awkward because I'm not because I'm an awkward person, but because I'm one of those people where sometimes I'm in my own little world. Literally. Sometimes I'll be in this room with a million people. Well, not literally a million people, just figuratively, but say there was 10 people in the room and I had to walk in there and introduce myself to everyone. First of all, I'm so in my own world. Sometimes I don't even realize there's other people in the room. And in other cases, I try to be myself in every room. So I do such weird things that sometimes other people think I don't want to talk to that guy. He's too weird. At least that's what I assume. So in 2019, I read this book called How to Talk to Anyone, and I used a lot of the I still use a lot of the pointers that I learned in that book to make introductions with people. And I think if people don't realize that. So I read that and I would say, oh, when you meet someone, make sure you meet them while they're doing something interesting, or if you're at an interesting place, go places to meet people and talk to the people doing something interesting or who have something interesting. So if I go to I don't know, a coffee shop and I see someone and they're drinking their coffee, but they are, let's say they have on a necklace with a dolphin. I'd be like, hey, oh my god, cool dolphin necklace. Or dolphin chain. Where'd you get that? Or how did you do blah blah blah? You get the point. Or if they have a cup of coffee, hey, where'd you get that cup of coffee? Is there a coffee shop nearby? Or if they're wearing a really cool shirt, hey, oh my god, I like your shirt. Where'd you get that shirt? And those are my icebreakers. If I entered a room with someone who was wearing a plain white T-shirt and just regular jeans and regular shoes like Vans or something, and there was no chain, no accessories or anything, just a pretty normal haircut and nothing out of the ordinary, iPhone, this person looked like the most typical just regular person, I would not know how to talk to them. I'm sorry. I wouldn't even be able to say hi because at that point I'm looking for a way to speak to this person. Like I'm like, what am I supposed to say? Hey, I really like your plain white T-shirt. Or hey, have you ever heard of that band, the Plain White Tees? They wrote this song called "Hey Dear Delilah" back in the day, and I talked to them, and then I would still think that I'm like the worst person in a social setting because I feel like when I'm at work, like I have to be that kind of person who is like incredibly charismatic and outgoing. So I have to flip that switch from being like super duper introvert Tyler into super outgoing, charismatic. I could sell you a pencil for like $1,000 that would otherwise cost that has a retail price of like $2. So feel like I have to flip that switch, and because of that, I think that's why I do much better in social settings where I'm like forced to be outgoing rather than social settings where I don't have to be outgoing, or social settings where being outgoing isn't necessarily a requirement. So like if I'm at school, that's another thing too. I don't do if I'm at school when it comes to like making friends and things like that, I kind of suck a little bit because in college, college is weird because like everybody who's taking the same course isn't necessarily doing like the same major. So I remember like back when I started college because I signed out of high school because I had a knee injury. I had to take like remedial English and I had to take remedial math. So when I was in that English course, I would meet a lot of people there, not kids because they're all adults. Literally, they're all older than me. I would meet a lot of people there who were taking this English course, and they were all doing different majors and things like that, and it was really stupid. And then I would take other courses. Like one of my courses that I had to take was like a writing course. This wasn't like a remedial course. This was like a regular course, like a regular writing course. And I had to take this course, and that's when I immediately realized, even though at one point I had gone to a performing arts high school, when I got there, I realized everyone taking this course isn't studying the same thing. So, like, you meet people, talk to people, and they'd say, "Oh yeah, I'm studying psychology," or "Oh yeah, I'm studying philosophy," or "Yeah, I'm studying to do nursing," and things like that. And I was like, "Oh my god, I'm studying film. I'm gonna make TV or movies or something." I don't know if we have a lot in common. Let's talk some more, and it'd be a little bit difficult because I think like that's one of the harder. That was one of the harder things for me, jumping immediately into a college setting from a high school setting. It was like I had to flip that switch really quickly and kind of mature really really fast because in high school, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna be 110% real with you. In high school, I was more like YOLO. You only live once. Remember when Drake dropped that? You only live once, and that was kind of my thing. You only live once. Let's go fuck some shit up. And then I got to college, and I was like, holy shit! How much is this class? wait a minute. So I can't. So this. I thought we were partying. This class is like $4,000. Where the fuck am I I can't party at this point. And you'd be like, oh wait, this class is $1,000. Holy shit! Like I'm taking like an English course that's like $1,000 that was free like a couple months ago, and I was like, oh shit. Oh crap. And I think that's one of like that was one of the like real eye openers to like and to school to go that transition from high school to college. And it was difficult. Like, I mean, I know you can sign up for like FAFSA, and like some people, their parents they work their asses off to send their kids to school, and a lot, because school can be expensive, and it's like school's only gonna it's only gonna get more expensive. Like, so a lot of those courses are like super expensive, and I didn't know that. I was actually kind of embarrassed because I was like, holy shit. But yeah. So meeting those people, in school and doing things like that. It was a real eye opener. It was like my first taste of the real world, and I fucking hated it so much. But yeah. Um, let's go. Next, oh dude, I had I did not have an interview, but I was looking. I'm trying to get an interview. Or at least I thought I was going to get an interview, but I didn't know, which I think is like one of the really more interesting parts is I didn't know that you had to like pay people to do interviews. I thought these celebrities were doing these interviews for free. Apparently, this is a cash grab, baby. They're paying to do these interviews. So then I started hold on. So how do I explain it? All right. Well, someone sent me an email, and I still don't actually believe that it's them because in some ways, I feel like it's not them. And it kind of scares me a little bit because in some ways, I want it to be that person, but in some ways, I'm afraid that it's not that person, and I don't want to be swindled out of my money, especially the large amount of money like that. But this celebrity, unnamed celebrity, sent me an email, and they were pretty much, like, hey, how are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. They messaged me. I didn't message them. And I was like, hey, how are you? How are you doing? How are you doing? Oh, I love that show. Anyway, so they send me this email, and I'm talking to them in this email back and forth. We're emailing back and forth for a while now, a couple months now. Since way before, I think since the first time I'd gone back to New York this year, so since like March-ish. So we've been emailing back and forth since about April, March. We're in like September, about to be October now. And, they're, we're talking, and I'm trying to keep things professional. They're keeping things moderately professional. I'm trying to keep it moderately professional myself. Throwing out a couple jokes there, and then I asked for a job. I was like, shit, can I get a job, please? Because like you're emailing me, let me send you my resume. Hire me, please. And so we're talking, and I brought up my podcast, and I was like, hey, do you want to, I'm kind of working in a podcast. Would you want to, come be on my podcast? Would let me interview you, because like I'm not interviewing anyone right now. And the last time I really interviewed someone, it was for like a college course. So right now I would, I'm really interested in, actually doing an interview. And, I think doing an interview with you would be great, because I like you and I like your work. I like everything that you've done. You've really impressed me, and you've impressed a lot of people, the general public. I think you're an incredible person, and I want to get to know you. But everything about you is like so public. Everything about you is so public. If I wanted to know your birthday, I could Google you. I wanted to get to know you like more on like a intimate level, like a friendship level, things like that. But it was a little bit hard for me. Hold on, I'm gonna put a Pringle in my mouth. I'm eating Pringles. Sweet and sour with onion. It was like $1. Really good Pringles. Anyway, so that's pretty much like, hey, why don't you? I'm doing a podcast. Would you like to be on my podcast? They were like, yeah, more than happy to. But for things like interviews, you'd have to go through my management team. I don't think your management team. I've been emailing you for like months. Why don't you just say yes? So, because we're not like friends, and we're not friends yet. And she's someone. Well, I shouldn't say she. Well, it is a she. She's someone that I kind of look up to and would like to be mentored by in some ways. Someone that I respect a lot. So I was just like, hey, I think you should be on my podcast. And then she was talking to me about it, and we were talking about the cost of how much it would be to get, her on a podcast through her management team. And she was talking about like $15,000. And I was like, come on. Come on. So, we were talking, and I was telling her that I was like a little bit like afraid, not necessarily afraid, but I was fueled by trepidation because of her celebrity status, because I'm always afraid. I don't know, like when it comes to dating like famous people, I've never had an issue with it. But recently, when I started to, take this thing more seriously, I really, I'm a little bit more wary now, because I feel like in some ways I don't want to draw too much attention to myself. And I feel like dating a celebrity would draw a lot of attention to myself, that unnecessary attention, but necessary attention at the same time. And while in some ways it could potentially help my whatever, like my own life or whatever, it's not something that I'm looking for. I what I'm really looking for is just a bare minimum of friend. Let's just be a friend, you know. But I really wanted to interview her. I think it would be really cool to get to know her. She's a fascinating person. She's very, very fascinating. I have so much respect for her. I would love to get to know her better. Just to sit down and say, hey, da da da, how are you? What is your middle name? Even though I can Google search it. Tell me about, this thing. What was the experience like? Yada, 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 etc., etc., etc. And so that's something I want to do. And yeah. So I think I want to interview people that I'm really interested in, like people that I like. I don't necessarily want them to be all in like film in the film industry, but I do definitely want them to be majority in the like arts and entertainment industry. Because I have a lot of people that I look up to in this industry that would be really cool to get to know, really cool to get to talk to. So I'm gonna see what I can do. Will I pay this X amount of dollars for this particular person? I would be willing to. I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I'll sell a kidney or a knee, because the one I have hurts a whole lot. So, yeah, I would totally accept that deal if we could work something out. Maybe something a little bit lighter, maybe $1,000. I made a joke in the email. I was like, "How does $1 sound?" And I'm 99% sure I insulted her, and I wasn't trying to. I was joking, but she did not like that. I was like, oh, you know what? How about $1? How about $1 for the interview? And she was like, $1? Excuse me? The email very quickly went from hi, we're so friendly, to who the do you think you are? Excuse me, do you know who I am? Kind of thing. And she didn't have to say it. She did not say that. But that's how it came across. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't blame her. But I did have to like apologize profusely, because I did not mean to do that. I was literally just cracking a joke because I like her and I thought she was gonna laugh. But that's the problem. I don't actually know her, and she doesn't know me, so she doesn't know that I'm like telling her a joke. All she's seeing is that this guy who's trying to build his career just asked her should do a God knows how many hour-long interview, and for $1. Like, you want to get to know me for $1? That's like if I ask a girl on a date and say, oh, we're gonna go get like these dirty water hot dogs in Manhattan. Now, some some women would be okay with that, but if you're taking a girl on a date, she's not gonna want that. She wants a little bit more. At bare minimum, you might as well want to spruce it up with like a run club or something, so she feels respected. And I feel like she felt so disrespected by what I said, to the point where even I was like, "Ah, shit, I fucked up. I'm sorry. Let me apologize. What can I do for you? Anything. Ask and you shall receive," kind of thing. I was really sorry about it. She's a great person, 110%. I look forward to it. I'm gonna see what I can work out. Try to keep talking to her, see what she says. But again, I don't know if it actually is her. I could actually be talking to like some random guy from Africa, one of those Nigerian princes. For all I know, it's talking about send me these $1 million. And and next thing you know, I wire this person like X amount of dollars, and like I never see it again. I just but one of the things that I liked about the email, which is so interesting, is that she said, think about it as an investment in your future. And I was like, yeah, you know what, you got a point. It kind of is an investment in my future, except for one problem. I thought you were in my future. I didn't know I had to pay you to be in my future. Shit. Fuck. I wanted to be your friend. I want you to mentor me. I don't want you to destroy me. In some ways, you might destroy me because you never know these days. And like everyone that gets into the industry or breaks into the industry always says the same thing. And they're always just like, dude, you gotta watch your back, because like people who are in the industry, like a lot of people claw their way into the industry, like a lot of people. So like you got to think about this from like people who have like really fought to get their positions and to get to where they are. Like you really got to think about that. Like some people have fought tooth and nail. Like I don't know if this is true because I didn't even look into it. So if I am wrong, please don't like sue me. But like one artist, I think it was like Mary J. Blige or something. Someone said that she hadn't. I don't know if this is true. I'm not gonna say her. You know what? Scratch it. I'll take the name out. One artist, they said that this particular artist, music artist, she had graduated. She hadn't like gone to school or something, and somehow she managed to break into the entertainment industry as a singer. And she was a hell of a singer, but like she could barely like do certain things, and because of that, like management, record labels, companies, and things like that would take advantage of her because of it. Because she didn't know, certain things about like reading the fine print, reading over these deals, reading over documents before she signed them. And some of the documents, I guess they were worded in such a way that she couldn't understand. She didn't have a lot of money, things like that. And, so when she got offered her record deal, they really fucking screwed her. And she had to fight tooth and nail to fix that, fix her career, to get control of her career, find someone who really gave a shit about her as an artist, to manage her properly, and all these different aspects, all these different things. And so she fought like hell to get to where she is, and not to get to where she is, but to stay where she is, and to get what she really deserved, like the money that she deserved, all of these different things. And you have a lot of artists like that, a lot of well-known artists and things like that, like from people who, they fight tooth and nails, like especially now in the social media age, where social media can cancel you, where half the time, even if you are the victim, sometimes they cancel the fucking victim. Swear to God, sometimes they cancel the victim. Sometimes they cancel the victim, and they cancel the manipulator, or the person who like did all the crap to that person. They'll cancel both of them. They'll be like, no, fuck it, we don't care. Both of you guys out of here. So Like you're like in a time, it's like a day and age where it's like sometimes we just don't even give a shit. So people on social media just don't care, and they'll just cancel everybody. And then at the same time, you have artists who have been in the industry for years who get advised improperly, um to the point where like they actually end up ruining their careers. And then you have artists in the industry who get advised properly, and then they are advised by people and then they end up losing money through like uh different things, like different pyramid schemes or things like that, like, oh hey, why don't I take over and I'll take X amount of dollars from you, because like when you make money in this industry, like everybody's got to get paid. Everybody has to get paid. So everyone's getting paid. From you're getting paid, your manager's getting paid, management teams, hair stylists, everybody, lawyers, who your mother maybe, depending on if your mother is a part to play. All these people really, all these people get paid, and all these people make a percentage, and they need you to make money. So they need to believe that you are going to make some fucking fat cash. You're going to make a fat wad of fucking cash so that they can make some fat fucking cash. And if you don't know what the fuck you're doing, they're going to take all your fucking cash. And you're going to be like, oh my God, bro, what the fuck just happened? So you need to be able to you need to like know ahead of time, like, yeah, these people are gonna fucking eat me the fuck alive. But at the same time, you gotta like figure out, if they're gonna start nipping at me, how the fuck do I want them nipping at me, and what do I want them nipping at? So you gotta know those things. And so it's not about like being one step ahead or being two steps ahead or three steps ahead. It's about realizing that you could be in this game today and gone tomorrow, and rebranding is costly. But if you got a rebrand, bro, do that shit. I swear to God, do it. Like, I know like it can be difficult, but sometimes you gotta do it. I mean, like, look at Donald Glover and how many other people. So many people do it all the time. I mean, it's easier to do it when you're like already in the spotlight. Like, rebranding is easier to do when you're already famous. Because when you're not famous yet, it's a little bit harder to rebrand. But I mean, if you are famous and you rebrand, like, you're good. Like, you have very little to worry about, because at that point, people know who you are. So, irregardless of how you do things, it won't matter, because they already know who you are. So it won't even fucking matter. Like, if you come up there tomorrow and you get on stage and say, call me piece of shit. Not to say that you should say that, but, oh, call me ABCD, and your name is QRST, they'll call you ABCD. And at the same time, some people will still call you QRST, because they'll attribute ABCD to QRST. Like, you get what I'm saying? So that's basically where it's at. Like, that's kind of just what it is. So it's all about like timing. When's the right amount of timing? When to do it? How to do it? How famous do you have to be before you do it? How not famous to be before to do it? Sometimes it's easy. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes it's easy. If you are not well known, like nobody knows who you are, you could rebrand. You could rebrand right now. You could change your fucking name right now. It won't make a difference. If you are fucking famous, like you're like an A-list celebrity, you can change your name right now. Nobody will care. Won't make a difference. There's two places in your career that you could change your name, or that you could rebrand, or you could take up a different aspect or change paths and things like that. And those two parts are when you're already fucking famous, like massively famous, and when you are nothing. Those are your like premier times to just completely change everything, and no one will no one will bat an eye, because it won't matter. But if you're like climbing like a social ladder and things like that, like that's not when you want to change your name. Like, if people are starting to know who you are, that's definitely not when you want to change your name or like when you want to rebrand. But you can. You can if you want to. No one's gonna. It's not gonna become a big deal. Like, if you can, if you want to, I can if I want to. But at the same time, your best time to do that is when no one knows who you are. As in, no one's calling, no one's emailing, no one's messaging. You don't have any fucking money. You're dead broke. Change. Or when you have all the fucking money, everyone knows who you are. You can barely walk down the street without someone knowing who you are. Change. Those are your two best times in like your career. And I think like people need I think that, some people need to recognize that and understand that and be real with ourselves here. So you can always do that. But again, like being in the industry, film industry, uh music industry, whatever, the industry as a whole in general, social media as a whole in general, it is what it is. But if you're like a social media thing, you don't want to change your name. You could, but you don't want to change your name. But then the problem is, even if you did change your name in social media, if your face is all over there, like your face and your designs and your creations and things like that, if those things are all over there, your voice and all that, you can do whatever the fuck you want to. People use social media to manipulate the stock market for themselves. Every day, people manipulate the stock market for themselves using social media. That's so crazy. So, like, if you do things like go on TikTok and go on YouTube and go on Twitch and all these things, and you watch people that do like day trading and people who talk about trading and economics and banking and things like that, whatever the case is, but just people that focus mostly on like money and economics and finance and things like that, when you look at them, like, they can manipulate the shit out of you. And it doesn't even matter. They'll manipulate the audience because they'll tell the audience, oh my God, this stock is, sell this stock this time, blah, blah, blah. Or let's not do this and do that. Or this company is blah, blah, blah. And then, like, they'll be like, oh shit, these people who are probably have no real knowledge of this thing, who are basically novice and amateurs themselves, they'll just be like, oh my God, my favorite creator told me to, and then they'll just go sell and drop that fucking stock. So they did it in, what do you call it? During the pandemic. They'll sell and drop that stuff so fucking fast, man. Like, what? And then you'll be walking out of here with like a fucking, and then those people who told you to sell them, they'll walk out with like millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars. There was a court case a couple of days ago, actually, not a couple of days ago, sorry, but like I think like last year, there was a whole lawsuit that was filed against a bunch of people on social media who were manipulating the stock market using social media, because like after the pandemic, they were just like, no, we're not doing this shit anymore. We're not gonna have another Wall Street thing here. You're not gonna go around and do all this nonsense. So we're not doing that. Anyway, and how the industry can ruin you and people, stealing from you and things like that. Think about like FaZe Clan. That was the next thing. FaZe Clan. So FaZe Clan, I don't know if any of you guys know who FaZe Clan was or is, because they're kind of like dwindling. They're just like hanging in the abyss right now. We don't know what the fuck's going on there. FaZe Clan was this CS:GO first person shooter video game group that turned into on World War, what do you call it, Call of Duty, that turned into this big thing, and they ended up becoming a big deal. And I've been following FaZe Clan since I was dating, since I was in college. I usually I map my timelines by who I'm dating. So I'll be like, oh, I was dating this person around this time, so it's got to be back then. Oh, it was back when I was dating Ashley. Oh, when I was dating Trisha. Blah blah blah. I was never dating a girl named Trisha, but anyway. So all right. So FaZe Clan, essentially, they were a Call of Duty clan, CS:GO. They ended up being able to monetize their videos in such a way that they could become a big deal in the esports arena, and they became a really big deal. Everyone was into them. They had a lot of influencers, they got a lot of traction from big name celebrities, rappers, people that were they got traction from everyone. Everyone knew who FaZe Clan was and who FaZe Clan is. They're all their kids, all the celebrities' kids. They were into them, and it was a big deal. They were all over social media. Everybody was repping the FaZe Clan merch. They had all these different sponsors that they were working with, from G Fuel to Adidas and all these different not Adidas, sorry, to different sporting companies and things like that. They were doing a big thing. So they had all these celebrities and things. They were renting out these massive homes that belonged to like people like Justin Bieber and things like that at one point in time before they ended up buying their own homes, etc. And so because of that, they were huge. They were huge. They were so huge. So they brought in us. And then like a couple. I guess like the bigger they got, the more money they got, the more you started to see little cracks and things in their knees. So you started to see like FaZe Banks getting on Adderall, and he ended up getting addicted to Adderall. Then you had Rain get addicted to whatever Rain was addicted to. You had Rug basically we don't know if at least I don't know personally if everybody in the group was on something at some point. But the basics of it is, it seemed like Rug was probably one of the few people who was like not on anything, or at least who seemed like he wasn't on anything. And then everybody was just, or who was smoking weed, wasn't smoking weed, whatever. Basically, the kind of things that normally happen when you end up with like massive amounts of fame, massive amount of money at a rapid rate, and it just rolls in so fast, and you don't know what to do. You don't know how to control it, and you don't know how to control yourself. And you're out partying, trying to get yourself more well known, meet more people, throwing money around different rooms, etc. And so one of the things that they ran into is they had brought in a CEO to run their company, because they ended up turning everything into a company. And they brought in a CEO, and the CEO basically fucked their entire company. And everybody was so upset with the CEO. And I was like, why did they bring in a CEO? And first of all, FaZe was the first real model of a company that I'd ever looked at. Like, it was the first real model of like business model that I watched grow from nothing to essentially something. Like, I mean, these guys were like, I remember when they were like just like in like a house that they had upstate New York. Because I remember I drove up to that house. I went to the FaZe house myself personally. And I like knocked on their door and everything. Like, I remember that house. That was back when I was driving like an Oldsmobile Alero, like my grandmother's Oldsmobile Alero. So I remember that, and they were the first real company I had ever actually watched grow from nothing to something, and it was very, very interesting to me to see them grow. And I watched them go through I just like followed them through everything, and I followed their like growth. I followed how they blew up, how quickly they blew up, their fan base changing. So I was there, and I remember I used to tweet on like my Twitter, like if anyone ever at any point in time decides to actually go through my Twitter, you would see that I was following a fuck ton of people, a fuck ton of different companies, businesses, celebrities, and things like that, watching and basically researching as how like their careers blew up, from people like Nicki Minaj to Mac Miller to FaZe Clan. couple other people, something Grayson, something. There's a lot. T Mills, fucking Travis Mills. Like, come on, dude. Like, I was following that dude when I was literally blasting his songs about doing cocaine in the bathroom, in the shower, while I was getting ready for school. I was getting ready for class. I was in high school, and I'm getting ready for class. I'm getting ready in the morning. 5 o'clock in the morning, I pop up, getting ready for school. I'm blasting T-Mills, yay, fuck you with my Vans on, blah, blah. Cocaine, something, something, something. These sound like freaking cocaine and things like that. I'm in high school at the time. I had never done cocaine. I've never done cocaine. And I'm blasting these tunes, making videos in my room, in my bed, in my bathroom, and it was really incredible. So yeah, like T Mills was making songs on MySpace. He had that one album cover where he was laying on top of all those girls. He had the like stretched ears and things like that. I remember I remember when he literally when he fixed his ear, and I was like, ah, fuck. He was one of the reasons I stretched my ears. I'm not gonna fucking lie to you. He's one of the reasons that I stretched my own ears. So this is another person who's like career I followed as it grew, and it's basically normal for like fans and fan bases to watch people's career grow up. But I wasn't just like watching them in some aspects, and in some ways I was basically like studying their growth and looking at their growth potential and how much work they put in and the effort and everything they did. And these guys were out there, they were killing it, bro. Nicki Minaj was out there, she was killing it. I remember I used to like, there was I was in Brooklyn at the time. I was in middle school. I was going to Catholic school, and there was a taco place called Yummy Taco. If you go to New York, there's a taco place called Yummy Taco. It's basically a chain now. It's very small. It used to be like family owned. It's really, really small, but now they have like a few locations across Brooklyn and Queens. It might be, I don't know if there's one in Manhattan, but across Brooklyn and Queens. And there was one downtown Brooklyn, going to Atlantic Avenue, and I used to hang out there with my ex-girlfriend, and we would be, sitting in there fucking singing, and if you see an itty bitty piggy in the market, get a bitch a quarter in a car, tell her pockets, blah, blah, blah. Basically, so we were following this chick, and I remember, like, cause my ex lived in Queens, and she'd be like, Southside Jamaica, blah, 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 and I'd be like, yeah, okay. And it was cool. So this was one of the careers that I'd followed. And then when I got into high school, that's when I started following Mac Miller's career, which I thought was even more incredible because I loved how Mac went from Kool-Aid and frozen pizza, blah, that was good, to the point where he was saying, about making his dreams come through and watching movies in his own theater. I remember I was at my first internship I ever did was a woman that was hosting like a radio show. This is before podcasting became a thing. She was hosting like a radio show in her basement, and I would go to her home like every day. I think like a couple days a week. I would drive over to her house, and we would go down into her basement. We'd be in her what do you call it? In her office, and then she'd take me into her basement. I met her son, and I met her husband and things like that. And these people were loaded, and they were pretty cool. There's cool black family. It was very interesting. It was the first real like wealthy black family I'd ever met, because I was more used to like more like family dynamics, like my own family dynamic, which is basically like my mom, like, which was like interracial marriages, or mostly like Caucasian people or whatever the case is. And this was the first time I'd ever actually met like a wealthy black person, like in person, that wasn't like fictional television screen or anything like that. And it wasn't like they didn't make money in the entertainment industry or any of that stuff. This was just like self-made, blah, blah, blah. And that was the first time I ever met them. And that was really, actually, that was really interesting. And I was very interested. It was very cool. And I was mind fucking blown. She had like a bar in her basement. She had so much basement room. In some ways, it scared me a little bit, but she had a lot of basement room. She had like the largest basement I've ever seen in my entire life. I'd never seen that much space in a basement. Even at like my other like friend's house, I was like, what? no one's basement is this large. Why do you have so much basement space? In some ways, it freaked me out. I was like, did you add on to this? How do you have like basements are not this large? Like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, the basement looked like it was larger than the house. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was larger than the house. It was massive. And I think I still have her name on my resume, and pretty much she was the first person that really got me interested in using like audio and sound. Um, and for her, I would take a lot of photos and create a lot of short videos. But I don't think I did a really great job in impressing her with that because she had her own little thing that she wanted to do. And I wasn't really 110% interested in what she wanted to create, but I really did try my best to push her ideas and her stories forward. And I think in some ways she really appreciated that because I did do that. But I also think that in some ways she also expected a little bit more from me, and I think I gave her a little bit less. So therefore, I think that I performed really, really poorly with her. But overall, I was still young. I was like just getting into college. So I was still looking for my own little way of editing, and it was just basically I didn't do a really good job, and she was much nicer than she should have been, because I think anybody else would have been like, no, go home. This is not going to work. And she was way more patient than I think she needed to be with me, and I've always been incredibly grateful to her for that. So I appreciated that, but yeah, it was great. She, yeah, I forgot what I was talking about. So yeah, and doing that, that's how I ended up following the career of like, following Mac and listening to Mac while I was on my way home from that interview from my internship. Doing things like what is it? And following all these other different artists and watching their careers blow up and blossom, and pretty much, yeah, that's basically how I got into that. And I think that's one of the things that sort of inspired me to do things. So when I initially started doing things like making music myself, I always kind of followed this same procedure of like, even if it sucks now, the more I do it, I'll get better. And that's kind of just like the mindset that I've always had. If I keep doing this, I will get better at it. Like I might suck now, but at some point, I'm going to be like incredibly good at this. And the only way for me to get better at this and to get good at this is for me to keep fucking doing it. So I got to keep showing up for myself, keep doing it. I'll get better and I'll keep, whatever. So what is my motivation for doing any of this shit? The fact that I actually think that at some point I could do this in my sleep. I can just be incredibly good at it. So that's one of the things. Again, I pretty much forgot where I was. I do apologize. I have ADHD. It's not my entire personality, I promise. But yeah, anyway, cool. So yeah, so no, FaZe Clan, again, they were really great. Their CEO, like, really fucked them. I remember when I was watching, like, Rain give a chat one time after he was dealing with his, like, addiction thing, when he was recovering. He faced some battles with his recovery. It was really, really bad. He had a CEO. I think the CEO's name was like Lee Trink or something, and basically they said like Lee screwed them. He tried to make them. He pretty much told them, "Hey, why don't we just let this company sink and tank and blah blah blah, and you'll make money off of it when the company fails." And then I guess the company started going down, the stock started plummeting. It went all the way down to $1 to the point where the CEO who had told them, hey, you'll make money, ended up lying, and they actually ended up making like no money. And it was really bad. Based off of what he said, it was really, really bad. He got really emotional. And it was really interesting listening to him talk. It was also really interesting looking at where they have come to today, they've still ended up making a significant amount of money and still being incredibly successful to the point where they could bring in an entire fresh team of people and completely build their careers. So in some ways, they're almost acting like a consult. They're almost acting like social media consultants now, where they're, instead of being FaZe Clan and playing video games themselves, they're really just specializing in consulting with creators who are streaming and playing video games online and trying to build their own little like e-gaming, e-sporting little brand. And now that's what they're doing. Essentially, they're not taking money from them as if they're employees. They're basically just helping them and trying to push them forward. And they've basically maneuvered they've basically maneuvered the words to it into a way where it sounds a little bit more strange. They've changed the vernacular to make it sound a little bit more professional, and a little bit more modern, and a little bit to fit more of the social media terms and times that we're in. But it's really basically just consulting is what they're doing. It's essentially boosting other people's careers now, using their former using themselves and their experience and their connections to essentially boost other people's careers in the same direction, and people who are working pretty much in the same area as them to boost their careers, which I think is incredible and a really great thing to see them do. And I really respect them for it, especially Banks, especially given everything that Banks has gone through and everything that they've done. Like, the other day they did like a 30-day subathon where they were like streaming for like 30 days straight. And I guess like now the 30 day straight thing is done and they have these people that they're like sort of helping, and it's really incredible to see. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the future of FaZe Clan would be, and I'm also looking forward to see if they will shy away from FaZe Clan and try to go independently into different aspects and different, fields and things like that. But whatever the case is and whatever they plan to do with the company, with themselves, they've pretty much got my respect. They really bounced back a little bit pretty well. They ended up firing like a bunch of people. So like they fired their entire esports team. They let everyone go. And I think that's interesting because like esports has really started to sort of go down in a way, because even though esports had like a lot of popularity, like you can still make money in esports and you can still do a lot in esports. It's just that esporting and e-gaming is just not like what it was in like 2017 and 2018, 2016. So I don't know personally, but I don't think there's as much money in gaming as there was before, because it seems like a lot of the bigger names and a lot of the bigger teams like Optic and all these other guys, Mistake and everyone is no longer doing this. And even if they are, they're not doing it in the same way that they used to, because I mean, like, look at Ninja. Like, Ninja was doing this thing. He was doing it by himself. He refused to join a team, and he basically did his own thing and built his own brand. And he's incredible. He's did a fantastic job with it. And Ninja doing it the way that he did actually benefited him a lot more in not joining a team. Because could you imagine if Ninja had belonged to a team, especially like a team like FaZe Clan or something? Like Ninja, probably he wouldn't be where he is right now, because he's got comfortable money. He's pretty good. He doesn't have really much of anything to worry about, like, at all. So honestly, you kind of like just have to respect it. And so it actually was the best decision for him to not join a gaming team and commit to basically working for himself and being solo and having his wife manage him. He did a fantastic job. But again, for FaZe Clan, I really do apologize for what happened to them. And I really do hope that things get better for them. And I know that it will, because I believe in them. So, a lot of respect for them. It's pretty crazy. On the topic of entertainment, Johnny Cash has a mural now in the Capitol building. I think that's insane. I've never actually been to the Capitol building. I've never been to DC. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've never been to Washington DC. I've never been to the White House. I've never been to Washington D.C. Fuck yeah, I've never been to the White House. I can't wait to. I would like to go to Washington D.C., but I'm like freaked out because of like all the shit that I write on social media. Oh shit! Oh dude, as soon as I get on a plane to D.C., they'd be like, "No, this plane's not going to D.C. anymore. This plane's going to Nova Scotia." We can't like you anywhere near this place. All the shit that you write, bro. Fuck that. Just drop his ass off in Guantanamo. What the fuck? Oh shit. Oh please don't. Please don't do that. I'm begging you. Please. I feel like with Kamala Harris becoming president, like I'm pretty much basically just like, yeah, Cam Harris is gonna become president. Because Cam running for president is like amazing. Because like we have like the first female president. We only have two options. But I'm not gonna lie to you. The last time we had a woman run against Trump, she didn't win. And now we have another woman running against Trump. And she's gonna win. I think it do. And then people are gonna yell and scream, "Oh my god, they're using black people for votes." That's what they're saying. Which is fucked up. So she's like, I didn't know her parents were divorced. I did not know that her parents were like divorced. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought like her parents are just like sort of separated, but I guess like her parents are like divorced. Which I found out when she did an interview. When I saw one of her interviews today, that they're divorced, and I was like, oh my god, really? I thought your parents were just like, you know, separated. I thought it was more like, you know, your dad had to leave for work or something, and then maybe he came back, or you know, he left for work and you'd go visit him because he was gone for work. I didn't know they were like, you know, like fully 110% like divorced. And finding out that they were divorced was really an eye opener for me. It really was. I think like one of the more annoying parts about her running for president, like her candidacy for running for president, is really just the fact that people keep shit talking her. Like everybody is like, they're like really crapping on her, and I think that it's really good in some ways because it's like nobody ever talks shit about the person doing the wrong about you for not doing something interesting, or like if you're not doing something right. But they really do come after her pretty hard in some aspects, and it's actually kind of annoying. It's like a little bit annoying. In some ways, I find it annoying because like I don't want to see it. Like right now we have the Australians, like the Australian right wingers are essentially like laying down a shit ton of hate on her, which I've never seen before in my entire life. Like I've never seen that. Like I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't even know the Australians like. I mean, I know obviously like countries around the world, they really do pay attention to our politics because America plays such a major role in the political landscape and the political arena, especially as far as other countries are concerned. Like we could whisper something to one country and it'll start a war between them and someone else. And we have so much influence in like the political space that our people, our governments, our entertainment, our media, everything has so much influence on the external world outside of us that it's really difficult, and strange to see, or in some ways interesting to see how other people spend time like shitting on us and talking crap about us. And in some ways, it's a little bit annoying because like these people will sit there and they'll talk crap about us like all day, every day, and then they'll still turn around and be like, "Oh my God, America, help me, please! Oh my God, please help me!" Like, bro, you just like shitted on us like 2 days ago. Like, they're like, when will the bludgeoning stop? Please, I beg you. Oh my gosh. Like, you just talk shit about us. What the fuck? And then, like, we gotta go help them. Like, all right, fucking shit. We gotta go help these pieces of shit right now. And they're just like, what the fuck? Like, why are we helping them? They just, like, talk shit about us. I'm like, yeah, well, it's the right thing to do. Like, it's the right thing to do. Yeah, that's why we're helping. It's the right thing to do. We don't really want to deal with this. Whereas you got like yeah, I wrote it down. What's her name? I don't want to pronounce her name wrong, but I'm about to. So she's gonna have to get over it. Everybody's gonna get over it. Her name's like Rita Panahi. Panani? Panahi. Pana Pana Panahi. Yeah. Rita Panahi. She's like an Australian political commentator and like a columnist of like Iranian descent. Essentially, she's like Iranian, but she's American. She's like born, I think, like in America. So like it says like she's a columnist for like the Herald Sun by News Corp or something like that, and she hosts this segment on Sky News Australia, and it's called Lefties Losing It. And I think it is the most insane thing I've ever seen. And she spends 95% of her time talking crap about the Democrats in the US. Mind you, she is American, but her nationality is like Australian. She was born in Arkansas. So she's like American. But she went to school in Australia. Let me see. So she was born in Arkansas, child of Iranian parents. Her mother was a midwife. The father was father was an agricultural engineer. They returned to Iran during her infancy, living on the coast and moving to Tehran. The mother worked for a hospital associated with the Shah at the time of the revolution. Basically, they gave birth to her in America, and then they left and went back to Iran. And then I guess she decided to go to school in Australia, which was interesting. And then, hold on, in business administration. Yeah, and then it's crazy. And she spends like the bulk of her time talking crap about she is one of the people that they like to call self-hating. But not necessarily because being Muslim it's a religion, so she doesn't want to be Muslim. She doesn't have to be Muslim. So she's not Muslim anymore. So she's given that up. She is very right wing and supports the monarchy of Australia. And she has criticized Meghan Markle. I'm reading her Wikipedia. It's probably the worst thing I should do. Anyway, basically, she spends the bulk of her time just literally shitting on Kamhar. Like, that's all she does is just talk crap about Kamhar. Like, the entire, not necessarily the entire segment, but she spends the entire segment talking about American media and American left wings. So like she reported on like Taylor Swift, and she's like, Taylor Swift is like no longer famous because she endorsed Kamala Harris or something, and she just started talking shit about Taylor. So it was crazy. I was listening to her speak all this like absolute garbage that she was saying about Taylor, and then after she got done with Taylor, she started like turning all of her like attention to Kamhar, and she started going off on Kamhar. And she was like, she played the clip of Stephanie Roll saying that Kamhar is not running for perfect. She's running against Trump, and we know exactly what Trump will do, who he is, and the kind of threat he is to democracy. And she was talking shit about Thunberg, which, by the way, I agree with. Greta is like, I'm sorry, piece of shit. I've been saying piece of shit like all week. You have to bear with me. So Greta Thunberg marching for like the Palestinians, uh, which I hate saying Palestinians. Oh my god, I hate saying that fucking name. I'm so sorry. I hate saying that name. I hate saying that name. I hate saying it. Greta Thunberg was marching to the street for the pro-Palestinians, the pro-Hamas people, behind a diesel pickup truck with a diesel generator on the back of it, and she was chanting, "One struggle, one fight, climate justice, and human rights." And it was sort of like just like Rita said, it's sort of like an anti-West neo-Marxist ideology. Uh, Greta is they're talking about the Africa, who it was, I think it's Chevron, who is supplying Netanyahu. Like Chevron is supplying Netanyahu with some things regarding like I think gas or like, or I don't remember what it was. I'm not paying attention enough to know that part. But whatever it was, they're basically upset. The green people are really upset about Greta, saying about the Chevron thing, and that they're supporting Netanyahu. But I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, listen, Hamas is a terrorist organization, and they're a terrorist group, and they are in control of Palestine. They are the group who is in control of that basically run the Palestinian government. Hamas is a terror group. Hamas shares the same ideology of shares the same ideology of Iran, the Jihad, Iraq, and several other heavily Muslim areas and countries. Hamas does not support Israel, and they do not support the Jews. And like their associates, they have proposed to rid the world of Jewish people, which I think is so fucked up. So fucked up. If you look at like history and you see how the Jews have been treated for so long, it's so fucked up. Like black people have been treated poorly, but in some cases, which I'm not trying to say that black people should do an uprising, because in many countries they have done uprisings and good for them, but in many ways that they have, but black people, it's just not the same. The Jewish people, they are they don't they've been through a lot, and they faced ethnic cleansing in like a way that is intoxicating, not in a good way. Like it's a bad high. It's something that you wish you wouldn't have to see or ever have to see. This is is so scary. It's always been so scary. From the Holocaust, it's just one thing. It's so scary. It's so sad. It's so fucking sad. Like, it's crazy, bro. I like these guys on October 7th, they went into Israel with their fucking paratroopers and their fucking boats and their land, whatever. They basically plotted and went in there, and they went in there with the intention of taking massive lives. And they killed so many people. It was so bad. It started because, like, I remember how it led up to it in some ways. A couple of days before, around September, I noticed on the news they were talking about how some Palestinians had, like, gone into, like, a nursing home in Israel, and they had killed, like, a couple elderly people. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? Like, before anyone says anything, like, I'm fully aware about, Israeli settlers and trying to, taking homes of the Palestinians and things like that. I understand what's going on there. I've seen it. I know what's going on. I'm aware. I'm aware of it. And they went in there and they killed a bunch of elderly people. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, why the hell would you do that? And then it was so sad. I was like, oh my God. Because, just thinking about my grandmother. I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh my God, how could you do that? How could you do that? And then within a couple of days, I was at work. And I believe I was at work. I don't remember where it was, but I remember watching it. And the news rung out. Palestinians invaded. That the Palestinians had invaded Israel. And they talked about how it happened, everything. The music festival, how they went into the music festival and they shot up the music festival. And I was like, oh my God. They went into the homes of people, the cities in Tel Aviv, all these different things, and went into people's homes and live streamed everything. Everything that they did, they live streamed. They live streamed themselves killing people. They live streamed themselves murdering people. They live streamed themselves doing raping people. There were so many people who were raped. So many women who were raped, sexually assaulted, etc. They were. It was insane. I'd never seen anything like it. One second, I gotta double check something. Okay, they were. They did so much. It was so scary. There was an elderly woman, and I remember it because I remember thinking to myself, "What about my grandmother?" Because my grandmother passed away. And I loved my grandmother. I do love her. I love her so much. I loved her so much. May she rest in peace. And I remember the girl, the young granddaughter, getting on camera, and she was in shambles. She was in shambles, in literal shambles. She was crying. She was red. Her cheeks were red. Her face was flushed. Her eyes were. She was. It was so scary. And she talked about how she watched that Facebook Live of her grandmother being sexually assaulted by Palestinians who broke into her home armed, broke into her home armed, and took her phone and live streamed themselves assaulting this woman sexually. They did it to several people, to families. There was a man, I think he was at work, and his daughters and their mother, they were home alone. I think he might have been there with them. I don't remember the specifics. It was so scary because all I could think about was the women and the shit that they were doing. One guy, they took his wife and kids. They took that man's wife and kids, and it was on video. And he found out that they took his wife and kids because it was one of the first videos that came out. And when he saw it, he was like, "That's my wife. What the fuck? Holy shit. Oh my God." And he was like, you know, he found out that they took his wife and kids from a video that was posted to the internet. Social media. Imagine being at work or being somewhere else, not at home. Your wife is at home with the kids. As a man, too, you're doing something and you open up your phone to see that there's some crazy shit going on in your city, in your home, in your nation. And the first video that comes out about the atrocity is of your wife and daughters, your wife and kids, being tossed on the back of a fucking van, like a little fucking pickup truck, and driven out of your fucking city, your country, into another one with armed men following behind and besides. Like, imagine picking up your phone because you get a notification that your grandmother's on Facebook Live, and you're like, "Oh shit, Granny's probably making some kind of recipe, or maybe she's doing something, some cleaning, or maybe Granny got a new hobby and wanted to show it off to her friends and grandkids and the rest of the family." And you click that fucking notification. You click the notification like, "Oh my God, I'm so happy, my grandmother, yay." And instead, what you see is armed men assaulting your grandmother. Literally assaulting her sexually. Like, imagine waking up to that one day. Like, imagine seeing that. Like, that's some fucked up shit. Like, that's not what you want to see. That's scary. How do you live after that? I'm not saying, but like, how do you go on? How do you turn around? How do you see something like that, turn around and march through the street in favor of that group? How do you do that? They went into a music festival. A music festival. I go to music festivals and concerts with my friends occasionally from time to time. You know? How do you... They went in there and they shot people. Murdered them. People were running for their cars. They were ducked down. Running. This guy was with his friends. He was with his friends. They went to a music festival. They all went to a music festival. They blew off his arm. His arm blew off. This man's... He's bleeding Hirsch. Hirsch Goldberg. That was his name. Hirsch Goldberg. They blew off his arm. And then they still took him captive. Blew off his arm and took him captive. for nearly a year. They kept him alive. Yeah. Probably underground. They took all those hostages and they took them into these like little fucking ant-like tunnels and hid them in those tunnels. Took care of them and everything. And then when the Israelis were like, we want our hostages back, they were like, fuck no. And when they took them, when they it came time, they kept him alive for a year. They gave him medical attention and whatnot. And then, when it was time to hand him over, they killed him. They killed him. That's what they did. They killed him. My mom is Jewish. My mother is a Jew. My mother's last name is Goldberg. And that's why that name stuck out to me, Hirsch Goldberg. My mother's last name is Goldberg. Literally. I thought that it was crazy. My grandfather's name, David Goldberg. He was in the army. He left the army. He went to MIT. After he left MIT, he went to NYU. He used to build weapons for the U.S. military. He used to build weapons and assist with military weaponry and the development of it in foreign countries. That's what he did for work. And as a result, my mom and her siblings, they ended up living outside of the country for a long time as a result. It's incredible to see how, it's incredible to me to see how this atrocity could happen and then see people march through the fucking streets of Manhattan, a city that I love, a city that was mostly built so many Jewish people in Manhattan, so many Jewish people in New York. New York is one of the largest Jewish communities in the world. One of them, close knit, very tight knit. We have a lot of different Jews, from heavily religious to non-religious and different things. And these are really good people. These are really great people. They're no different than anybody else. They're just like you and they're just like me. And they're good people. They're good people who come from a long line of people who have had to deal with shit. They've gone from having to be forced to be Catholic. They used to force Jewish people to be Catholic. You know that? They used to force them. The Catholic religion... Okay, hold on. Well, first of all, the Catholic religion used to force everybody to be Catholic. Let's be real. But the Catholics used to try to force them to be force Jewish people to be Catholic. They used to try to force them to get rid of their religion. They hated that religion. They hated Jewish people. And to this day, people still hate Jewish people. They hate them so much. Why? The fuck? They didn't do a goddamn thing to you besides live and survive. They didn't do anything to you. They didn't do a damn fucking thing to you, bro. It's so fucked up, bro, and I hate that. Like, I hate that so fucking much because I love them. Oh my god, I love them. I love them. Because I basically love everybody. Like, I love all people. Like, I'm totally down for, like, giving a shit about Middle Eastern people and everything like that. But I don't support this level of hate. I don't support men raping women. I don't support rape being an act of war. And I don't support the fact that people are marching through the streets and supporting these people who have done such vulgar atrocities and have caused so much problems and live streamed the things that they've done. And we have groups of people supporting them. And the problem is, why are there so many people supporting them? Why are there so many people in favor of Palestine? Why are there so many people in favor of that? Like, Palestine is a country, okay, great, but it is led by a terrorist organization, a terrorist group. Their entire government is a terrorist group. Instead of urging the Palestinians to stand up to their government and shame them for what they've done to the Jews, instead of fucking doing that, we're sitting here and acting like their government is not, like it's not terrorists. Terrorists run the government. What the fuck is wrong? Are you fucking retarded? I'm sorry, but are you stupid? Their entire government is run by terrorists. That's who runs their government. Terrorists. That's who's feeding them, clothing them, and who they are not saying no to. They're not standing up to them. They're not going outside and saying, "Oh my God, we need a better government." They're not going outside and saying, "Oh my God, we need new people to run the government." They're not saying, "Let's vote them out, get rid of them, and bring in people who are for us." They're not saying that. They support their government. They support what their government did to the Jewish people. They have not spoken out about their own government. They have not condemned the actions of their own government. They have not sat there and said, "Okay, hold on, wait. Maybe you should not have raped that woman or these women on live camera. Maybe you shouldn't have done that." How many of their own people do you think they have probably done that to? Because I know they've done it. They have to. Because ain't no way you're going to break it. They're going to go into another country and do it if you never did it in your own country. So, let's be real. How the fuck can you support that? How can you march through the street for that, man? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. I'm very upset about it. I'm very upset and I'm very ashamed. I'm ashamed of the people who are doing this. I'm ashamed of the DNC for allowing these people to protest during the DNC convention in Chicago. I'm ashamed of countries are not condemning the violence by Hamas. I'm ashamed of the people who walked out of the UN. That should be no show. These are the same people who will turn around and say, "We shouldn't rape people. We shouldn't do that." And the crazy part is, in their own countries, especially those African countries, especially them. Don't get me started, bro. Especially those motherfuckers allow shit like that to transpire in their own countries. And the fucked up part is, instead of sitting there and saying, "You know what, we do not support the actions that Hamas took. We do not support what Hamas did," they have otherwise allowed it. They've allowed it to transpire. They are not sitting there and saying, "Okay, the government of Palestine is not the best government. Let's get rid of the government." What are you doing about that? You're upset with Netanyahu for standing up against himself. You're upset with Netanyahu for hammering down on all of these Muslim countries that are promoting hate towards Jews. You're upset with Netanyahu for getting involved in the affairs of other countries that have for years been targeting Jewish countries and Jewish-led countries and Jewish people predominantly, and especially Israel. You are allowing that by the actions that you have taken. Hezbollah and all these fucking countries that are talking shit about Netanyahu and Israel. Come on, man. Like, how the fuck do you do that? How do you sleep at night knowing that you support a terrorist group? How do you sleep at night knowing that you support men that rape women? How do you sleep at night knowing that you support a group that raped someone's grandmother? What would you do if that was your grandmother? What would you do if that was your wife? What would you do if that was your daughter? What would you do if that was your sister? What would you do if that was your family, your son, your cousin? If that was you, what the fuck would you do? What would you want people to do? If somebody blew off your arm and kidnapped you for nearly a fucking year, and then you had to find out that people are marching all over the world in favor of the people that kidnapped you. Imagine that. Take that in for a second. Live with that shit. Live with that. Imagine they supported that. They support your kidnapper. They support your rapist. Imagine that. Imagine if you send your kid off to school and their kid is in college and God forbid something happens and she gets date raped or something like that. And instead of supporting you, the victim's family and the victim, they're supporting the person who did it. Imagine how you would feel if it was you. You would not enjoy it. How the fuck can you go to sleep at night knowing you support these fucking people? People that won't condemn the own violence by their own government and speak out about it in terms that specifically say, hey, we don't support this. And we don't want this issue with the Jews. We want peace with the Jews. We want peace with Israel. We want that. That's what we want. Why can't you do that? You can't do that. Of course you can't. You know why you can't do that? Because you believe in it and you would do it too. I firmly believe that you would do it. If you are marching through the street in favor of these people, I believe that you would do it. You would do it. I can't be around you because you would rape someone close to me. If you can support that, God only knows what you would do. If you think I'm wrong for saying that, you're fucking part of the problem. Like, you're literally part of the problem. Because let's be real. My Pringles and I are gone, baby. Let's talk about UNRWA. Apparently, like nine members of UNRWA helped Hamas. Did you guys know that? 9 members of UNRWA helped Hamas. 9! And now the DOJ and UNRWA are basically saying, oh my God, we should give those employees immunity. Fuck that. They support garbage. We gotta treat them like garbage too. They're in the same boat. They're in the same boat. Don't give them immunity just because they're American. They support Hamas. They support him. And then all these people are going like, this is peaceful protest. Peaceful protest in favor of terrorists. Babe, that's treason. I'm surprised they're not charging them with treason, because that's exactly what that is. That's treason. You're marching through the street in favor of a terrorist organization, a terrorist group. That's treason. Life imprisonment. Treason. That's what that is. That's literally fucking treason. That's what you're doing. You're marching through the street in favor of a terrorist organization. That's fucking treason. That's treason. That's a fucking federal crime. I have to put your ass on a fucking sexual predators list where you start touching people. It's scary. I'm more afraid of you than I'm more afraid of you than I'm afraid of the that guy that has set himself on fire. Okay, well, that works too. The best thing that's happened for Kamala Harris's for her campaign is this hurricane that just happened. There's so much damage that's done. It was like a Katrina level hurricane, Ian level. It was really bad. You have so many states that have been torn apart and damaged, destroyed because of it. So much damage that's been done. There were houses floating in the water. It was such a bad hurricane. If you know me, you know I lost my own apartment in a hurricane, and I never received any kind of compensation from FEMA, which I will say until the day that I die, because I am upset about it. And quite frankly, I am very upset about it and very disappointed, and I'm very upset about it. Whatever. The point is, this hurricane has happened. The scale of it, the scale of the damage done, allows us to see how she would manage her presidency. I believe that how she handles it will reflect how she will handle other atrocities. I gotta stop using that word, but other disasters and things like that during her presidency. So this is a time for her to shine. This is a time for her to use this. This is a pivotal moment for her. She can use this to boost her campaign. She can use this to boost her support. She can use this to boost her presidency, her chances of re-election in 4 years, should she be elected in November. She can use this, and this is the best thing that's happened for her campaign, because unlike the Clinton campaign, she has now been faced with something that's really going to show us what she can do, something that's really going to prove to the Americans that she can handle this shit and that she's got this. And I think that her campaign, the campaign managers and everything like that, putting her in front of the media, getting her in front of FEMA, getting her on the phone with FEMA, and all these things where she's being placed in front in this danger zone, and in just where they've positioned her right now is right where they need to have her positioned. If not, they need to position her more. We need more of her out there and getting stuff done, and we need more proof and evidence of her actually doing work, and not a fucking photo op. Not a photo op. Like, actually do something, because that's a lot of fucking damage. My apartment was the same way. I walked through that flood water. I walked through flood water that was up to my chest, and I'm short. I'm 5'2". I'm only about, an inch or two shorter than Kamhar? That water was up to my chest, boy. Okay? I walked through water up to my chest. Okay? When I opened my front door, that water came rushing in so fast. It came rushing in so fast, the power in my apartment went out within an instant. Like a snap. It was gone. So fast. When I walked out of my apartment, everything was floating. Everything. My gimbal. In 2019, I bought a gimbal because I'm a filmmaker, you know. I wanted to make a short film. And I made a short film for school, and I bought this gimbal. I remember I went into, what is that? I went online, I ordered this gimbal, and I had this gimbal, this DJI gimbal. And I had this gimbal, and it was floating. It was floating in the floodwater. When I walked out of my apartment, it was floating in the floodwater. My bike, my BMX bike in the water, my guitar. I managed to get my guitar up high enough that it wouldn't float in the water. My violin. My violin was in the closet because I figured, I don't know why I figured if I can get my bow and my violin in the closet fast enough, it wouldn't be affected too badly. Apparently I was wrong. My steel pan was in there. My steel pan was in there. I have a tenor steel pan. It was in there. That is rusted. It has like specks of rust on it now. I don't know what to do about it. So now that's my storage unit. My guitar, out of all my instruments that survived, my guitar and my steel pan were the only two of my instruments that actually survived that flood. My violin did not survive. My gimbal did not survive. I had to get rid of my gimbal. I had to get rid of so many things. It was insane. I was so insane. I was so hurt. I was so heartbroken about it. It was crazy. My GoPros, like one of my GoPros is missing right now. I don't know where it is. But one of my GoPros is missing, and it was so crazy. I think he got lost in the moving of things. My clothes. I have like a suitcase, a ginormous suitcase of clothes that I saved. Um, After my apartment flooded, I had to go back in there and get all the clothes out of my drawers, and I had to put them in these trash bags. In all these trash bags, and I packed them into. I dropped them off at the laundry and had them do my laundry. And then my mother had to go pick them up from the laundromat. And there were bags and bags of laundry, bags of clothes, to the point where she had to put it in a suitcase for me. I have a massive suitcase. Like, I have multiple suitcases, obviously, because the suitcase I have with me now that I travel with is a different suitcase, but I have a larger suitcase that has so much clothes in it. So much clothes. All of my clothes in it. And I was never really big on shopping. I've always been more of a minimalist. So I keep my wardrobe really simple. All I wear is like black, gray, and occasionally white. I have like one or two items that are of other colors, which I rarely wear because my entire wardrobe is essentially made up of black, gray, and white. And those are the only clothes I wear. So it's just a suitcase that's full of like a bunch of underwear and jeans and chino. Well, I unfortunately I do have like they're not jeans because I don't wear jeans. They're chino, but it's like it has sort of like a jean texture, like what do you call it? What is it called? A twill type of texture to it. Has a couple corduroy textures, such. Um, and there are all these things. They're all packed away in this suitcase, and it's in my storage unit. And it's really sad every time I go back to New York and I open the door and I see all this stuff, and I'm just like, fuck. Uh, I have my television. I still have my television. I can always sell my television, but I have my television. I lost my Xbox. It was on the shelf when I went back into my apartment. There was just my Xbox is done. It did not survive the flood. It did not. I had Watch Dogs 2. That was the game that was inside of the that was the game that was inside of my Xbox. And that shit sucked. It sucked so badly. It was so sad. My like monitors. One monitor survived, and I believe I threw the other monitor out. And I couldn't find my other GoPro, but I had two GoPros, and one of them I have with me, and the other one is probably I don't know where it is now because I had two, and I knew I picked it up and put it inside of my storage unit. Now it's gone. I'm pretty sure someone stole it because when you have things in like storage and things like that, it's pretty easy for people to like go in there and basically like steal things, and sometimes they just steal like small things because like they like never know. So um what people want from you basically, and so yeah, um So yeah, so my it was crazy. Some people are just like jerks because I mean it's like I said the last time. Sometimes people just don't like you, and because sometimes people don't say what you have to say, and in this world, like a lot of people aren't gonna agree with you, especially if you have like opposing views and you have like an opposing personality. Then everybody's always going to be upset with you because I firmly believe that like a lot of people were not taught really how to like respect people and respect other people's views. And I think that that's one of the problems that we have as a world, really, as a people. Because I was basically taught like, hey, I don't have to agree with your views, but I can still like you. Like this one girl I was talking to, um, which a lot of people will probably hate me, but she actually like supports Palestine. And I was like, I don't support Palestine, but I like you. And then she was like, well, how can you not support Palestine? I was like, listen, I was like, look, I like you. And I believe that you and I can have a fantastic relationship because you're a great person. I like getting to know you. However, as far as any relationship that we have is going to be concerned, as long as we do not talk about politics at all, we could have a pretty good relationship, and I'm sure of it because you seem like a really great person. And you seem like the kind of person that I want to know outside of your politics. So why don't we sit down, talk to each other, get to know each other, have a meal, go on a date or something, and we don't have to talk about politics ever. How's that? And she was like, okay. And I was like, okay. And so that's how we ended up talking, and that's how we, had a little exchange because now we never talk about politics. We never bring up politics. We never bring it up, ever. Every time we talk like, "Hey, how's your day? How are you doing? How you going?" Blah blah blah, and we never touch about politics. She has her views, and I have my own, and we never speak about it ever. So there's that. Um, I lost my clay in that flood too. Clay. Um, I use a lot of clay. A lot of people don't know this. This is probably one of my secrets, but now I'm going to reveal it. Is I like to sculpt. So I sculpt. Yes, I do, and I sculpt with clay. So I got into sculpting in 2018, 2018, 2019, 2020. I think, yeah, around that time, 2020, during the pandemic, I got into sculpting. I ended up buying a bunch of clay. And so I bought the type of clay that is moldable. So you can keep molding it. So if you don't like what you made, you can always remold it. And one of the reasons I ended up getting into this one of the reasons I took up sculpting is because I wanted to make a stop motion animation. Now I had never worked with clay before. I'd worked with Play-Doh as a child, but I'd never worked with clay. Obviously, most kids have worked with Play-Doh. It's very salty. I used to lick it. So as a result, I ended up, I wanted to make the stop motion animation, so I had to work with clay. So so during the pandemic when I wasn't writing because I didn't start my book until the following year, I was essentially teaching myself how to work with clay. So I was molding clay. I was in my bedroom. I was in my living room, basically teaching myself with like YouTube videos how to work with clay. And here I am working with clay, molding clay. If I could move this clay around, and how would I do the legs and the arms, and thinking about what the backdrop would be. Because I was already considering like, hey, what would the backdrop be for the project? How would I make the project? And I was thinking about a lot of these things at the time my apartment flooded because I was essentially trying to figure out how my company, how Matt Black, how I would start making money, how I'd start monetizing, my talents, because I built and I created Matt Black so I can create anything that I wanted to create. I could just make it and have it underneath this company, and that's what I want. So everything I wanted to do, and one of the things I wanted to do was a stop motion animation, and it really meant the world to me at the time. I can't do it right now because I don't have an apartment, but it definitely is one of the projects that I would like to create as soon as possible. As soon as I get a new a room or an apartment, the first thing I'm gonna build. One of the first things I'm gonna start instantly do is that stop motion animation. And I'm really excited about it, and I can't wait to do it. Like, I can't wait to do it at all. Like, it's the number one thing that's on my mind. So I I wanted to do that because I wanted to use that stop motion animation to for my portfolio for going into animation. And so it was gonna be the film. It was gonna be a short film, probably about 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, of just me building out things like skies, drawing like a backdrop, and I was looking at using like different sort of things that I used in high school for projects in high school, and figuring out how I could use those same things again. So I ended up buying like these drain cleaners so I can make like trees and stuff like that, and how it would be made. And I was looking at, and I was just working with it, and I was practicing. And it was very cool. I had so much fun with it. It was really nice. And then when my apartment flooded, I had to get rid of all of that. And it was really sad because I was looking at this little piece of clay that I had made. Uh, when I was leaving my apartment, I remember staring at that piece of clay and thinking to myself, dude, I was just about to make my second movie, like my second big deal movie that would have gone into my portfolio. And I was excited about it. And it sucked because it never made it past the trial, the me working and getting it used to the medium of it all. So that always broke my heart, and so I was really upset about it. And when I think about that, I think about these people that just went through this hurricane, and I immediately think to myself, dude, what if these people have dreams? They themselves have dreams and aspirations and projects that they're working on, that they're probably working on. They have kids who have projects that they're working on. They have kids who are probably in school. They have, kids who are going to want to make things and make different, things like that. And, it's rare. It's really rare to come up with, and develop and do things like that. So it's really scary. It's very strange. Anyway, um, so that's one of the reasons why I think Cam Hart's approach to recovery and redevelopment of these areas and resources, and how these people are accommodated, and how these people receive financing and things like that. Her approach to this is going to be really important, because it will affect people for a very long time, because our hurricane affected me for a very long time. I'm still dealing with the ramifications and the fallout of that in some ways. So I really think that it's very, very important that she uses to really further her platform in the right way. She has a great opportunity now with this, and it's really going to be a deciding factor in her election, and how she does things, and how people respect her, especially myself, considering that I have like very little faith in the U.S. government for anything. And if all this damage can happen, they're not. I don't fully believe that they're going to help everybody. I don't believe they're going to help everyone. I don't believe that. Arguably, they're not going to help everyone. Because the other day there was like a video saying that, oh, FEMA has run out of money. Oh, video, and I was like, yeah, that's bullshit. Because right after that, like within a week or two, there was a hurricane. Look at that. And now she's over there speaking to FEMA about this hurricane. And I'm just looking at it like this is bullshit because like these people screwed me out of money. They never gave me my money. They never even offered me the money at all. And she, is over here doing things with them and speaking with them, giving them speeches and how to be more productive and things like that, and reallocating funds and things for them. And I never got help, so I'm pretty bitter about it, and I'm always gonna be bitter about it. I'm never gonna forgive them. Like I'm never. All right, guys, it's Ty, and it's been a great session, and I will see you guys, or well, you guys will hear me in the next episode. I do apologize for the timing of these. This should have been up much sooner. But honestly, there was way over 2 hours of audio. Like, I completely removed two portions, two additional lines of recording for this, two additional lines of audio. Anyway, but yeah, no. Thanks thanks for listening. If you listen to the entire thing, I really do appreciate you. Thank you very much. It really makes it so that I am able to make more of these. I do apologize that there's no video. At some point there will be, but for right now, audio only is literally the best. And again, thanks for listening. Have a good day. Be safe. Drive slow, as slow as you can go, and as safe as you can go. You will be in that middle lane, or maybe sometimes you have to do it a little faster, so you might want to get in the left lane and go. But great. Yeah, no, so I appreciate you. I love you, and thank you very much for taking the time to listen to me. Have a good night, guys. Bye bye.